One of these men is President Eisenhower's senior helicopter pilot. What is your name, please?
My name is Lieutenant Colonel Virgil Olson.
What is your name, please?
My name is Lieutenant Colonel Virgil Olson.
What is your name, please?
My name is Lieutenant Colonel Virgil Olson.
Two of these people are imposters. Only one is the real Lieutenant Colonel Virgil Olson, and is the only one sworn to tell the truth. And here is our host, Bud Collyer.
Thank you very much. Good evening and welcome once again to Tell the Truth, brought to you this week by Rise Instant Lather, the inventor of aerated shaving. For smoothest shaves in half the time, get Rise, America's largest selling shave cream. Now, if I may, I would like to take a moment to introduce our panel. First of all, housewife and mother of two, Mrs. Fred Fields, also known as Polly Bergen. Then, happily returned to our fold, husband and father of six, Mr. Don Ameche. Then, housewife and mother of two, Mrs. Moss Hart, also known as Kitty Carlisle. And finally, man about the house and father of one, Mr. Tom Poston. Now, panel, will you please follow along with your copies of this first affidavit as I read it. I, Lieutenant Colonel Virgil Olson, have been a military pilot for 17 years. I flew in both World War II and the Korean War. At the present time, I'm flying helicopters. I am stationed near Washington, D.C., and am one of the two pilots who fly the helicopters used by President Eisenhower. Taking off directly from the White House lawn, we carry the President and his staff anywhere within a 100-mile radius of the Capitol. My official title is Senior Presidential Helicopter Pilot. Signed, Lieutenant Colonel Virgil Olson. All set, gentlemen? All set. Okay. Now, panel, you heard these three gentlemen all claiming to be Lieutenant Colonel Virgil Olson, Senior Presidential Helicopter Pilot. We'll begin tonight's questioning with Don Ameche. Don, please.
Number one, who was Colonel Tony Story?
I don't recall, Colonel.
Number two, who was Colonel Story?
He was a very famous Army aviator.
Number three, who was Colonel Story?
Colonel Story was a very famous Army aviator.
Number two, who did he fly for?
4.
Yes. Who was his boss? Number one, what is the top speed of a helicopter?
The top speed is 145 miles per hour.
Number two?
126.
Number three, what kind of a plane did you fly in World War II?
B-25s, North American, and later B-24s.
Number one, what kind of plane did you fly in the Korean War?
Helicopter.
Kitty?
Number one, who is the inventor of the helicopter?
The inventor was a Spaniard by the name of de Sierva, but
Number two, who's the inventor of the helicopter?
De Sierva.
Number three?
Juan de la Sierva in 1928 in Spain.
Do you have someone else in mind?
him right now. He's talking too much. He can't talk. Number one, how do you know when the president wants you? How are you notified?
we're notified by phone. We call it a hot phone.
You keep it only for that purpose?
Yes.
Number three, where do you land at Gettysburg? Number two.
Yeah, at the farm, at the president's farm.
Where at the farm?
In a field right near the house.
Number I can see your finger on that
Poston,
button. I'm not going to give you the satisfaction of cutting me off in the middle.
Tom, please.
Thank you, Bud. Number three, what's the difference between the empennage and the camber on a military aircraft?
On a military aircraft, the principal difference is that the empennage is closer to your auxiliary flap controls.
Thank you. You'll never get me up in a plane with you. Number two, what's the red line on an airplane, military aircraft?
I beg your pardon?
That's okay, I was talking to number two. What does the red line mean on a military aircraft?
It's an indication that you shouldn't exceed this point on any of your gauges.
Is that strictly true, number one?
For all practical purposes.
Would you like to amplify that, number two? Is there more than one red line?
Yes, sir.
What is it?
Polly Bergen.
Number one, who is the pilot who flies the president's big plane? What's his name?
Bill Draper, Colonel Bill Draper.
Number two, what's the name of that plane?
It's a Columbine 3.
Number three, there's a kitchen utensil that a helicopter is named after as a slogan. What is that?
Egg beater, chopper.
Number one, is he Army or Marines or what?
Number one? Number
Air
one.
Force? He's the Air Force, number one?
Number one.
Number one, what is the equivalent of a lieutenant colonel in the Navy?
A lieutenant colonel,
Yes.
full commander.
That's it. Time to vote. So, panel, if you will, please, without consultation, mark your ballots. And in so doing, select number one, number two, or number three. Team of challengers, of course, will get $250 for every incorrect vote. All right, panel, have you marked your ballot?
Yes.
Polly, for whom did you vote?
I voted for number two because number three knew too much, which I wasn't at all sure of. And number two just seemed to have the answers, I guess.
Number two?
Yes, is he in the Army?
Ask him.
Is that an Army uniform, sir?
No, it's Marine.
I thought the Army had the...
Don, for whom did you vote?
Well, now, if you can figure out what that says, what that number says. Tom, that's my vote. I voted for 2-3.
Looks
No,
like
I
an
put 2 first. I switched it to 3, and I can't tell you why. I switched.
Three is your vote.
The 3 is my vote.
Okay. Kitty?
Well, I voted for number three on the basis that I'd rather fly with him than any of the other two.
And what about your vote, Tom?
I voted for number two. I used to fly myself, and this is the third chance I've had to find out by asking piercing, intelligent questions. Who is it? I haven't been right so far, but we'll see tonight.
All right, there we have it now, and I trust you're playing along with us at home. We're about to find out how right or wrong we have been, and therefore you'll find out, too, as we discover which one of these gentlemen is senior presidential helicopter pilot. So will the real Lieutenant Colonel Virgil Olson please stand up? Thank you very much, sir. Number one, would you tell us who you really are and what you do, please?
I'm Walter Logan with Dixie Mercerizing Company, producers of green mercerized cotton yarn.
And number three, what about you?
My name is Wells Newell. I'm an account executive with a large New York advertising agency.
Well, gentlemen, it was all right. It was a 50-50 deal there. There were exactly 2 incorrect votes at $250 each for a total of $500 from Rise. Thank you very much. On your way out, you will find a year's supply of Rise Instant Lather for each of you. Thanks for playing our game with us. Hope you enjoyed it. Good night and good luck. Now, panel, let's meet our next group of challengers.
What is your name, please?
My name is Paula Jean Myers.
What is your name, please?
My name is Paula Jean Myers.
What is your name, please?
My name is Paula Jean Myers.
Panel, will you follow along again with your copies of an affidavit? I, Paula Jean Myers, am a college student. I'm graduating the day after tomorrow with a degree as a dental hygienist. Aside from my schoolwork, my major interest has been in water sports. As a diver, I represented the United States in the Olympic Games in both 1952 and 1956. Currently, I am the holder of all 3 United States outdoor women's diving titles. Since the age of 15, I have held 11 national diving championships. Signed, Paula Jean Myers. Now, panel, here are 3 young ladies that are seated ready to play a game with you. All set, ladies? And each of them, of course, claims to be Paula Jean Myers, national diving champion. Let's begin this round of questioning with Tom Poston. Tom?
Thank you, Bud. They don't, any of them look like they've been in many dives, do they?
No, they don't. certainly don't. Oh.
High class. Let me see. Number 2, I'll ask you about diving first. Would you tell us, please, what is a layout?
A layout is where the body is completely laid out.
Yes, she has another. That's a hobby with her.
Kind of a gloomy hobby, I would say.
Yeah. Number 1, I'll ask you a question about hygiene, if I may. Could you tell us, please, what is Vince's?
It's a disease of the gums.
Thank you. Number 2, what's another name for Vince's?
Gingivitis.
Could you tell us, number 2, what the name comes from?
It comes from a disease of the gums.
No, I mean Vince's. Yeah.
St. Vitus dance?
Polly, please.
What does it come from?
A doctor named Vincent.
Oh. And number 3, are you married?
From Lawton, Oklahoma.
No.
He was an Army doctor.
He was an Army doctor.
She said, yes, she is married.
Number 3,
In the dental corps.
what does a dental hygienist do?
Well, she primarily cleans teeth.
I see. Number 2, does a water drill go faster than a regular drill?
Yes, it does.
Number 1, where were the 52 Olympics held?
In Helsinki, Finland.
Number 2, where were the 56 held?
In Melbourne, Australia.
Number 3, where are the next ones going to be held and when?
In Rome in 1960.
Don Ameche.
Number 1, how high is the middle board?
The middle board is 3 meters.
Number 3, how high is the a high board?
10 meters.
Is it a high board?
It's a very high board.
Number 2, is it a high board or high platform?
It's a high platform.
Number 3, how many optional dives do you have in Olympic competition?
Just 1.
And how many dives that you must make?
11.
Number 1, normally, how many teeth does a person have?
Well, a child would have 20, an adult would have 32.
Some adults, that is. I mean, Kitty?
We hope.
Number 1, you're a dental assistant. What's the proper way to brush your teeth?
Well, the top ones you brush from the gums down and the bottoms from the gums up.
And no other advice.
No other advice.
Number 2, what's a half Nelson?
Well, it's a comedy dive.
Number 3, what's the difference between a dental hygienist and a dental assistant?
Well, a dental assistant can't work in the patient's mouth. But
Have to stay outside. It's cooler out there anyway. All right, it's time to vote once again. So without consultation, will you please mark your ballots and in so doing vote as before for number 1, number 2, or number 3. All set? Polly, for whom did you vote this time?
I voted for number 3 because, first of all, she has the darkest tan, and I would imagine being out in the water and everything, she would be tan. And her hair sort of has that casual look of swimmers, who spend a lot of time in the water, I think.
Okay, Don?
I voted for number 1 because she has no tan. She's been inside working.
Kitty, what about your selection?
I voted for number 3. Nobody asked her about Dr. Vince, your friend.
Vincent.
Dr. Vince.
How do you happen to know about that, Tom?
He's an
But
Army
I think
dentist.
she looks like a diver.
Okay. And Tom Poston.
I voted for number 2. Presumably, I had all kinds of inside information about these 2 categories, and she answered to my satisfaction, the best. And she maybe also a mortician's assistant or something. But I think the other 2 were lying through their gums the whole time.
Okay, there you have it once again. And now let's see whether we did well or whether the challengers fooled our panel completely, as we discover which one of these ladies is the real national diving champion. So will the real Paula Jean Myers please stand up? Thank you very much. Just a minute, Polly. Number 1, would you tell us who you really are and what you do, please?
My name is Judy Cummings, and I work for Glamour magazine.
Number 3, you with the proper haircut and tan, what do you do?
My name is Joan Rubin, and I work for Mademoiselle magazine.
Now, Polly had a question. What was it,
No,
Polly?
I just thought, I thought a half Nelson was a wrestling hold.
Well, they wrestle in the water, too.
We also have a half Nelson dive, which is a comedy dive.
Oh, I see. That's what threw me. Who
get
asked
it?
that question?
I did.
You know good.
Bud did, I
A half Nelson would be apt to throw you anyway, Polly. But we, in checking score, find that there have been exactly 1, 2, 3 incorrect votes at $250 each for a total of $750 from Rise, ladies. So you may rise and leave with a happy knowledge you've won $750. Good night and good luck in the championship. Paula Jean Myers has asked that her share of the winnings be donated to the Amateur Athletic Union Building Fund. Now, panel, let's meet our third team of challengers.
What is your name, please?
My name is Francis E. Maher.
What is your name, please?
My name is Francis E. Maher.
What is your name, please?
My name is Francis E. Maher.
Again, will you follow along with your copies of this affidavit? I, Francis E. Maher, have been a letter carrier for the United States Post Office for 22 years. I have just returned from a 2-week visit to Norway, where, as a guest of the Norwegian government, I inspected its postal system and actually helped a Norwegian letter carrier deliver mail on his route in Oslo. That Norwegian postman came back to the United States with me on an exchange visit and will assist me in carrying the mail on my route at home. I was selected for this honor from among the 130,000 letter carriers in the Postal Service. Signed, Francis E. Maher. All right, gentlemen, you ready to play our game? Okay, panel, here we have 3 men all claiming to be Francis E. Maher, letter carrier who just returned from an interesting visit to Norway. And we'll start this round with Polly Bergen. Polly?
Thank you, Bud. Number 1, as a letter carrier, how many pair of shoes do you wear out a year?
Somewhere between 2 and 3.
Well, that isn't very many. How come?
Well, you go through a pair of shoes about once every 3 months.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I would figure it'd be more. Number 1, how many miles do you walk a day?
Well, it varies. I've done as much as 25 in a day. I've done 12 and a half to 13.
I walked to Saks and my shoes are shut. It's true. Number 2, whose picture's on the 4-cent stamp?
Lincoln?
Number 3, what's the famous post office slogan?
The famous post office slogan?
Yes, sir.
Neither rain, nor snow, nor heat, nor the dark of night will stop.
Number 2, what's the famous post office slogan?
Neither rain nor heat nor gloom of night will stay the courier from the swift completion of their appointed rounds.
Number 1, what's the slogan for the post office?
Neither snow nor rain nor heat nor gloom of night may stay the courier from the swift completion of their appointed routes.
Don Ameche. Number...
Well, I guess they don't really have to know it.
I know it. You know it, Polly?
No, but it didn't sound right.
Neither snow, nor rain, nor heat, nor gloom of night stays these couriers from the swift completion of their appointed rounds. That's what it is. Don, please.
You're the postmaster,
Which one of them said it? I don't remember now.
Number 3, why were you picked to go to Norway?
Well, for several reasons. For my information and my knowledge of the post office and my experience in organization.
Number 2, why were you picked to go to Norway?
I was picked to go to Norway for my personality, my knowledge of postal matters.
Number 2, what is the charge of mailing a letter in Norway? Just a regular letter, not airmail.
A regular letter, 7. Well, it would be 7 kroner.
7.
Kitty, you're getting the Norwegian money.
Number 1, who's the king of Norway?
King Olaf.
Number 2, let's say I write a letter to my boyfriend and I decide to mail
I
it.
beg your pardon?
Does Morton know?
And we've had a fight. and I mail the letter, and as I go back to the house, he phones me, and it's all over, and I want to get the letter back. I run down to the box, and I can identify myself, and I wait for the postman. Is it against the law for him to give me my letter back?
It is. You have to wait.
No.
You're stuck with your boyfriend.
You're stuck with
What is the longest distance? Is it longer in Oslo, or is it longer in where by the way, where do you carry mail, number 3?
Number 3,
Where?
Selbyville, Delaware.
Is it longer in
I'm sorry, Tom Postman.
I knew you would
Poston.
do that.
Postman, how do you like that? Number 2, you're a carrier. Who was Typhoid Mary?
I guarantee she didn't work for the post office.
Always leave them laughing when you say goodbye. That's it. It's time to vote, panel. Please mark your ballots, if you will, please, and vote for number 1, number 2, or number 3. All set? Polly? For whom have you voted this time, Polly?
I don't think it's any of them. I voted for number 3 because I can't remember how he read the slogan.
Don, what about your vote?
I voted for number 3, and I have no good reason.
Kitty, what about yours?
I voted for number 2 because he did read the slogan better, and he told me I couldn't get my letter back, and I believe that to be true. And I think on the basis of his personality, he got to go to Oslo.
Tom?
I voted for number 2, too.
2.
3 didn't know the slogan quite quickly, and number 1 says he uses between 2 and 3 pair of shoes a year, and he somehow got that out of one every 3 months.
That's I know.
3 months vacation. All right, there we have it. And as we check our scores, we'll find out whether we're right or wrong, which we will do right away. But to reveal which one of these 3 gentlemen is the real postman, Francis Maher, we thought it would be appropriate to call on the Norwegian letter carrier whom he visited and who is here in this country as a guest of our postal department. So may I introduce now Mr. Berger Omont. Mr. Omont, may I say welcome to Tell the Truth. Would you please do us the favor of indicating which one of these 3 gentlemen is the real one? Thank you very much. Number 1, would you tell us who you really are and what you do, please?
I'm an advertising space salesman for the Chicago Tribune.
And number 3, sir, what about you?
I work for Pearl Plastics Corporation, Glenside, Pennsylvania, and I sell buttons.
Mr. Roman, I understand you're going to visit quite a bit of our great country while you're here.
Yes, tomorrow I will fly with Mr. Maher to St. Louis. From St. Louis I will go to Cedar Rapids in Iowa, then to San Francisco, so back to Washington and to New York, and then back to all good Norway.
Well, thank you very much. I hope you have a wonderful time, have a swell trip throughout the United States. Enjoy yourself, and talk us a murkit.
Sure.
I tell you what the score is, gentlemen. In checking up, we find there were 2 incorrect votes at $250 each for a total of $500 from Rise. And on your way out, you will find a year's supply of Rise Instant Lather for each of you. Good night and good luck. Well, I guess that's all the time we have for tonight. I'm told that the 2 side people in this last round, the names didn't come out, and I'm sorry if they didn't. I suppose I could quickly give them to you here. One was Fred Workman, advertising space sales in Chicago Tribune, and the other one was Alfred Dukes, working for Pearl Plastics Corporation. I thought they said it, but maybe I didn't. I was told they didn't. Tom, you haven't been doing too well, and you got 3 right.
Yes, it's been a wonderful show tonight.
Well, I'm afraid we'll have to say good night. That's a good exit line. Good night, panel.
Good night, Bud.
Good night, Bud.
And now this is Bud Collier saying good night from Rise Instant Lather and Arid Cream Deodorant and reminding you to tell the truth. Good night, everybody.
To Tell the Truth is a Mark Goodson Bill Coppin production in association with the CBS Television Network. Miss Bergen sound by Wilmer. To Tell the Truth has been brought to you by Arid Cream Deodorant, America's largest selling deodorant. Don't be half safe, be completely safe. Use Arid Cream Deodorant to be sure. This is Hal Singh saying goodnight from Arid Cream Deodorant and Rise Instant Lather.
And I'll be along with Bad Girl on most of these stations.